What's up, fellow lords of gaming, and welcome back to another episode of Marvel Future Fight. So in 52 minutes, looks like, 53 minutes, we're going to begin the patch for the Guardians of the Galaxy V900 update, which is going to bring us a couple of new uniforms for the Guardians of the Galaxy. Unfortunately, by and large, I think there's going to be a group of people who are going to be pretty teed off with the fact that the update doesn't seem like it's celebrating a whole lot. Let's just say, I think that's the best way for me to say it. It's like, it doesn't seem like we're celebrating a whole lot. But let's get into these update details so we can talk about some things. So first off, we know that we're getting uniforms for Star-Lord, Rocket, and Mantis. Unfortunately, we do not have a confirmed uniform for Nebula. My hope, however, is that we will end up with a team uniform for Nebula or something like that. Maybe she actually doesn't wear a uniform in the movie. Who knows? And maybe that's like being held out for. But essentially, we're getting Tier 4 for Star-Lord, Tier 3 for Rocket Raccoon, and a potential Transcendence for Mantis and Nebula. And then along with that, we're going to get the Otherworld battle system. So let's start out with our man, Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord, and take a look at some of his skills. So essentially, by effectuation, we get his uniform, and his uniform effects has increased guaranteed dodge rate, but we're going to attach onto that the increased chain hit damage by 15% when attacking. So a good boost there to the uniform overall, which makes it like one of those things worth buying. Now, the interesting part to this is that his Guardians of the Galaxy V3 skill, or his ultimate skill, Guardians United, is receiving an update, but they have it specifically annotated that it's not an update necessarily in any of the effects. It's just an update in terms of the number of hit counts. So that should make it more powerful. We'll have to see how that looks. Now, his legendary outlaw leadership is getting a 5% increase to 60%. That's nice to see. So he's going to get that 60% energy attack. Still applies to all blast types. So use away. Now, the passive that he previously had linked with the Milano is now going to be called a Ravager's Instinct. So we still keep the ignore target dodge rate by 40%, but he gets the 15% increase to energy attack in here as well. His passive Wingman. Now, looking at this one, we basically keep the critical damage, but it's going to be increased to 20%. We also have the guaranteed dodge rate at 30%. And then the skill damage and bonus damage is going to be increased by 35 and 35. So essentially 20% and then 15% inside there. So not bad. They're basically showing you that they're boosting up the amount of hits that this dude's going to do and trying to make those hits a little bit more powerful. I'm expecting him to be pretty damn good when he rolls around for his uniform, just based on those passives and leadership increases and bonuses. So his first skill, Grenade Gamble, wasn't a whole lot there, still a whole lot there, just a basic stun. His second skill, Recoil Rebound, wasn't a whole lot there, still not a whole lot there. It's just basically silence on that skill. Shooting Star, or a shock, shock shot is now called Shooting Star. He, instead of shock damage, he's going to get burn damage for 30%. So a little bit of a downturn inside here, not to mention he loses out on the all defense down, and instead he just gains invincibility for 3 seconds. So no more of the 40% all defense down. I don't think we really kind of look at all defense down the way we used to. So his new skill element is going to be called Gravity Bomb Launch. So we keep the stun, but it's down off a tick by 2 seconds. We gain Snare as well for 3 seconds and Fracture for 3 seconds. And then we have, he recovers. This is where he gets his new recovery. So recovery of 20% HP, and we keep the 100% chance to grant immunity to all damage. So that's good. His fifth skill, we keep the stun for 2 seconds. We keep the accumulation. That's right. Now his accumulation is going to get a little bit of a 0.2 uptick. So 0.2. So instead of 1%, it's now going to be 1.2% for each 1% of pure damage dealt. And we still keep the increase all basic attacks by 45%. However, instead of 10 seconds, we only get 9 seconds on it. I don't know why the decrease there overall, but we do get a cooldown time reduction. So instead of it being a cooldown time of 20 seconds, which is like 10, we now get 18, which is 9. So should make the rotation a little bit easier. It basically seems like that was just done so that way the rotation is a little bit easier overall inside there. Now, Star-Lord, like I said, is getting his tier 4. It's not a bad tier 4 to look at either. So it's really interesting. Most of the tier 4s really are just like bonus damage increases. So like increase all basic attacks by 120% and plus 50% increase of his max HP. Recovers 10% of the HP as well for 5 seconds. So it's a pretty nice tier 4 skill overall, right? So now let's take a look at Rocket Raccoon, my man Rocket. Rocket is probably like, I do play with Star-Lord from time to time, but I don't play with him enough in my opinion to justify. Like, he's always like used as a leadership character when I do use him, so it's like a little bit weird. So Rocket's uniform, he's basically getting increase all basic attacks by 30%. He's going to get the 15% ignore defense, and then he's going to get decreased basic damage received by 20% on his skill. So that's an addition there, right? Now let's take a look at his skills, right? So previously his weapon specialist passive that was inside here, we still keep the ignore target's dodge rate by 30%, and then his increased skill damage gets the ever so slight uptick. I mean ever so slight. So from 42 to 45, and then from 30 to 35. It is so freaking slight, the damage uptick that he gets there. Like, I'm like, did we really need to do that? So Reload is now going to be called Half World Hero, and instead of having the barrier for 5 seconds or for 5 times for 3 seconds, which is fine, he's going to get a 40% increase of energy attack, which applies to all Guardians of the Galaxy type allies. So he's definitely going to be somebody that we're teaming Peter Quill with, because Star-Lord basically serves as his own leadership now. And at the 60% for blast types, we can put Rocket on there to give him the bonus, and then at the same time we get a 40% increase of energy attack for Guardians of the Galaxy allies, which gives them great synergy overall. So you make up for the 60-40, you basically got 100% of energy attack there, right? So it's not bad at all. Now, no change to Rocket's leadership, but I don't think we're really looking for anything there. And especially decreased skill cooldowns, like just nothing there for that, right? So anyways, Bombs Away is now going to be called Sure Shot. So we're going to add on a 100% chance to grant all damage immunity, and we're going to increase basic damage by 80% for 2 attacks. All of that on his 1 skill. So you're definitely going to be utilizing that 1 skill in rotation with a nice 5-second cooldown too. You're essentially going to have a lot of uptime for that 100% chance to grant all the damage immunity and the increased basic damage for the 2 attacks. So you're definitely going to be rotating into this. So we might end up with a 2-1 roll into the combo. Let's see how this plays out. So his 2 skill Boom is now called Unstoppable Rampage. Nothing really there except the stun. So you can look at it like, depending on iframes and stuff like this, it would probably be a setup to go 2 into 1, and we'll have to see the rest of his skills, like I said, how they play out. 3rd skill, Guided Bomb, is now Guardian Cameo, excuse me. So he's going to deal burn damage on this, deals 30% fire damage. He also gains the defensive down for 50%, which ignores immunity. He also gets a recovery of 20% HP, and then the 100% chance to grant all damage immunity even on this skill. So it's like Rocket is, if you were just pinging between Sure Shot and Guardian Camo, his 1 and 3 skill, you almost always have a chance to be immune to damage here. Like, because one is on a 5-second cooldown, the other one is on a, well, I guess technically it's 6 and 5. So you can rotate between these to grant yourself damage immunity quite a bit. So that's pretty nice on those skills. So like, I'm playing around with this in my head, and you might go 2, 3, 1. We'll see how this plays out. I gotta play this out. Gotta see how this plays out. I dying to see Rocket skills now, just off of this right now. I'm kind of excited about it. So going into his 4th skill, which is Space Bombardment. Doesn't look like anything's really changing here. We keep the burn. It's 25%. We keep the stun for 3 seconds. So instead of getting a 25% chance of missing attack, we basically get a 50% chance of missing attack. So Rocket looks like he's gonna be like near nigh invincible the entire time between his 4th fourth, third, and first skills, you basically got immunity and chances basically dodge. So this is pretty good so far. So his fifth skill, Electric Trap, is now, or Ragtag is going to be called Electric Trap. He keeps the burn damage with a decrease in from 30 to 35. Same for the shock. He gains paralysis, which ignores immunity. He gains invincible. Rocket is going to be like a badass. And then we get his accumulation on here, which is 0.8% of all basic attacks for 1% of pure damage. Rocket looks like he's going to be a badass, man. So like 5, 4, 3, and 1. So literally 75% of his skills renders him, almost unassailable, basically, right? So that's like crazy. Now we've got the pure damage in here. Man, I'm dying to see what the rotation is going to look like for his character. I'm kind of excited about Rocket. To be honest with you, I'm kind of excited about Rocket. I am. I'm not going to lie. Kind of excited about him. Now, Rocket is also getting his tier 3. So Rocket's tier 3, to be honest with you, the tier 3s and potential transcenders are starting to look like, rinse, wash, repeat. So there's not a whole lot to say there. We get the ignore dodge rate, the 86% chance to penetrate, invincible, increase all basic attacks. Like, it seems like standard fear now for him. But I do like Rocket's tier 3 ability overall. So I'm dying to see when that plays out. Let's take a look at that real quick. So essentially, we get Rocket calls in the Milano, and you guys allow his BFG, and then he just basically fires. So it's not like a whole lot to write home about on it, like in terms of animations. We've definitely seen better animations as of late, besides from the Milano. But I'm dying to see what it looks like. I'm kind of hyped about. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of hyped about Rocket. I'm really looking forward to seeing this character. I really am. So Mantis as well, she's getting her potential transcendent. She has had nothing. Nothing. So anything for this character is essentially a bonus and an update for her. Now, I do plan on transcending Mantis as well. And let's take a look why. So first up, her uniform. She's going to gain 80% chance to become immune to mind damage. Increases mind damage by 20% and increases skill damage by 30% and increases bonus damage by 30% on her uniform. Now that only applies to her. So it's not like think about it this way. What characters do we have for Mantis to become immune to mind damage for? We're not going to be using this character more than likely inside PvP. So you're using her inside PvE as a potential transcendent character. There's not many places where mind damage is basically going to be affecting you. So it's like uniform effect is nice in terms of what you're looking at stat wise, but it's not something really that you're like, I need to have this. However, her passive, which was previous called Celestial Madonna, you got to love that passive, where it had the critical damage increase by 20% and the 15% ignore defense, now is going to be changed to Mental Connection. She's going to apply to all allies. She's decreasing the basic damage received to supervillain and superheroes by 30%. Not as flashy as we've seen some of these previous passives before, but it is a nice passive when you tack that on with Rocket and Peter, right? So I kind of like that inside of it in there alone. So her other leadership, which was here recovering, it still stays the same. I'm a little shocked by that. Like, I'm not gonna lie, not gonna front. Because pay attention, right? So this is when her HP is below 90% applies to self. She just basically recovers 5% HP. We've seen better HP values return than that. So it's like 5% HP return value on this, like when her HP is below 90%. So she's going to be generating, but for every 3 seconds, but it's like, I guess it's good, right? I guess it's good. But let's take a look at the skills anyways. So Bursting Buds wasn't a whole lot there, right? It's now called Mind Control, still not a whole lot there. Silence is basically what she gets for 2 seconds. Back Leap is now going to be called Nimble Kick, still not a whole lot there. It's basically Stun and Silence. Sensing Danger is now called Emotion Domination. Instead of the dodge rate increase, she gains Fear for 3 seconds. Incapacitation, where it removes the active buff from the target. She applies to all allies. Critical rate increased by 25%, dodge rate increased by 25%, and removes all debuffs 1 second, right? So this is interesting because I don't think we've seen this for a character in a while, where essentially you're tagging characters in and tagging characters out, unless you're going to be using her like in dispatch mission or timeline survival, or I'm trying to think of the various game modes where she would activate these. Basically, like I could put this character inside like dispatch mission. She activates her 3 and is going to give the critical rate and dodge rate increases and the debuff removals to your other characters, right? Or if you were playing with her inside of like World Boss Legend or something like this, you'd basically tag the character in, so she uses her 3rd skill, tag the character back out, and then she's basically given that ability, that critical rate and dodge rate increase to all allies. Now the weird part about this, however, though, is that like for me, I've showed you guys my cards previously, right? And the problem essentially that you get weighted down with is that I don't need that 25% increase. Like my character's already max capped out on that. And I think a lot of characters are going to be into that range because we've already added in the systems, the roster bonus systems, and we got a new one coming in where people are going to be able to hit those crit and dodge rate caps, and you're not going to really need it. So like that benefit when it was there before and we used to use it for like Nick Furies and stuff like that, it's just not the same anymore. So it's kind of weird. But she does apply to self a 100% chance to grant all damage immunity, and she gets an accumulation on her 3rd skill as well, which is 1% of all damage, right? Pure damage. Her 4th skill, which was energy sawtooth, nothing there, right? So now we get anxiety disorder, which has fear, silence. She gets a all defense down for 50%. She recovers 30% of her HP on this skill. She has invincible for 5 seconds and increased basic damage by 50% for 1 attack. So pay attention to that. It's a nice skill, right? Then we get up Psychomancy is now Drax. This is, can't say it. Say it. Drax's Wrath, I guess is what it's called, right? So essentially for this skill, we get bleed, decrease the recovery rate by 50%, stun, silence, all defense down, and an increase all basic attack and defense by 50, 1, and 20. So that's pretty good inside there for her 3, 4, and 5. We'll have to see how that plays out. Her and Nebula both gain their Transcendence abilities. And like I said, at this point, it's basically become rinse, wash, repeat for a lot of these abilities. Not a whole lot there for, you know, what we're getting into. It just is what it is. So I think that overall the character looks nice. Let's take a look at what the Transcendence skill looks like. I'm not exactly expecting a whole lot here in terms of Transcendence skill. You are getting my first reaction to these skills. So basically we get Nebula and Mantis team up together. I'm surprised we don't get a 3rd character that's teaming up inside of this. Like, I think, is this like a first that we basically end up with a Transcendence that doesn't have 3 characters as part of it? Not a whole lot to write home about on that skill. I think it's kind of weird because I think we've been spoiled a little bit and we've seen better characters in terms of like abilities as of late, right? It's just weird. So nevertheless, moving along, what we do end up here with now is new PvP game mode inside of here. I'm going to pull this up on the screen so that way we can get a better view of this overall. I think it'll help out. All right, so let's jump right in. New PvP game mode, Otherworld Battle. So I'm not going to try to read off everything to you here because that'd just be boring as fuck, right? So what we want to talk about is the good, the bad, and the ugly about this new game mode, right? So essentially what we see here is, I think, more of the same. Like we've seen this in Battle World. I think so. Battle World is missing now, so I can't show it to you. But so, all right, so let's talk about this. Number one, we have confirmed what we thought was going to be in there, the Battle Pass. That's going to cost you $19.99 to enjoy the fruits of that labor. I'm going to show you what the rewards for Battle Pass are in a minute and why you might want to jump into it. We also have confirmed the Battlefield shop and things like this. So, okay, let's take a look at what the Battle World seasons are. So you can see right here, this is a pretty long time for a battle season to begin. It's 8 weeks. 8 weeks. Jesus. All right. So battle passes tend to span some time frame like that. Like I recently got back into Call of Duty and season 3 is on and we've got like 44 days left inside the season in order to gain some of the rewards. I haven't really invested in the battle pass because I just don't want to, right? But what we're going to have, we've seen this with pretty much all the timeline battles, right? Is that there's going to be a battle that consists of 6 leagues from bronze all the way to challenger. More than likely, most players are going to end up sitting somewhere squarely inside vibranium. Basically, you're going to accumulate points by battles, and those battles are going to set you inside a place. Like I said, I think most players are going to be seated inside vibranium league. Now, when you go inside the game, you basically can set your team by selecting 5 heroes, a la, you know, remembering Battle World, right? So set 5 people. You can also set battle effects that you can purchase inside the battle shop. You then set those people on the field as you deem fit and align them to the battle shop bonuses that you have given. So like if you chose plus up on combat attack or something like that, whatever is inside the shop, and you do that with like you know, blue what's her name, I can't remember, Blue Dragon, then you can do that there. Or you can say like, I'm gonna give Hulk dodge or something. That's basically what you're doing, right? So like here you can see activation rate when HP is below 70%, apply to enemies, provokes targets to attack. So like you would do this with like Hulk, right? And then I'm setting Hulk with provoke, so that way more people will attack me while my other characters are able to attack them on the battlefield, right? So the buffs are going to be inside the battlefield shop, and they can be purchased for the warrior mementos is what they're calling them, right? That's these little icons down there. You can see what the general cost of them are, and you can see some of the ones inside here that they've got, like ignore damage, physical damage absorption, HP increase. That would be another good one for Hulk. HP increase by 10%, because you give Hulk the HP increase, that's essentially increasing his attack value as well. So it's pretty good, right? So you can either use your warrior mementos to purchase these battlefield buffs, or guess what? You can purchase material. So this is going to be the one good thing that I think people are going to see in the shop. I think this is going to also accelerate people to be able to get ahead in places that they want to get ahead, because like if you look at this is showing you the material shop in there, and you notice that there's tier 4 materials in the material shop. For 7,000 warrior mementos, you basically can purchase like souls of the 14, carbonadiums, and life seeds, along with some of the other transcendent materials at level 3 as well. I don't think a lot of people are going to be purchasing those, but you know, we'll have to see what it is. Now, interesting, I didn't see a picture inside here for upgrade items. I'm going to assume the upgrade items may be related to the accessories, but we'll go down inside here and take a look at them. So now, when you get inside of here, you're going to be able to see who you're going to be choosing to enter the battlefield. Screen look familiar? We just saw it inside Battle World, right? Essentially what it is. So I'm going to search for people, then we align those people. We can see who they're going to be primarily squaring off against, and it just basically plays out for you. I think that's the bad part, right? You already leveraged the Battle World system, and I'm able to play at least one of the characters in the Battle World system. Why not just leave the Battle World system that way and just add these features onto it? Would have been a whole lot better for me, like in terms of that. Now, there are daily rewards that are locked in. So you can see here on the screen, right? We got victory in total. So victory basically guarantees you about 45 of these arena warrior mementos. So assuming that every victory was going to net you 45 warrior mementos, let's say 50, that's about 250 warrior mementos, right? So you can see about how long it's going to take you. So like if you were to worry about the life of how you're going to get to these on a daily basis, you're able to do that. So on a 7-day basis, 750, you're going to be, most players, if you get 5 victories a day, you're going to probably net somewhere in that vicinity of like what, 250 warrior mementos a day over the course of 7 days. I'm bad at math. 100, 1,000, 1,250, what are we, like almost 2,000 warrior mementos, like 1,500, something like that warrior. I'm terrible at math, guys. So you almost get like 20, like, you know, you're getting a pretty decent amount of warrior mementos over the course of 1 week. So like there's a pretty decent acceleration rate here for you to be getting at some of these. Now you can see the entry count resets every 3 days as well. So it's like 2 days, 7 hours is when that entry recount's happening. So like, you should be able to hit this every 3 days. You should be able to hit that 7,000 mark so you can make those purchases for your Souls of the 14, Carbonadiums, and Life Seeds. I foresee a lot of people going that route. Like, I would go that route immediately, right? You know what I mean? Like, if you were to consider like, well, I guess not every 3 days because you hit that, because every 3 days you would only get 750. So no, you wouldn't be able to hit that. I'm lying to you. You would still be able to hit that like maybe every 2 weeks or something like that, I think it is. I'd have to do the math on it. I'm terrible at math. One of you guys write it down in the comment section below. But either way, this is highly obtainable for you to hit maybe at least 2 or 3 times in a given month. And I'm going to go into why. Because you also notice that along with the Battle Pass and the Battle Pass up rewards, you're basically getting more of those warrior mementos. You can see here from level 1 to level 2, and your Battle Pass is going to net you 280 of those warrior mementos, right? So the rank rewards are also going to be set inside the game. So you can see like rank 1 rewards and what they get you versus rank 2, and they give you a complete breakdown list. So this is the normal other battle weekly rewards. So the reward system is going to be calculated on a week by week basis. So essentially pacing out in the top 1% is going to net me 2,200. So if you were to, I'm bad at math, guys, so I'm gonna have to pull up a calculator for this. So let me pull up a calculator, right? Because I'm terrible at this. What am I doing? Calculator, right? So like, let's say we got 45 of the rewards. We get 5 battles a day, so we're essentially getting 225 warrior mementos. We do that over the course of 7 days, and we're basically getting 1,575 of these warrior mementos per week. If you were to place in the top rank 1 inside your league or whatever, you're basically netting 3,775 of these a week, essentially, right? Now that also means that you're going to be able to top that off with 3,775 plus 3,775. You're basically looking at 7,550 warrior mementos every 2 weeks. So that gets you to purchasing some Souls of the Faultine, like Carbonadiums, and those deficiencies. More than likely, you're going to go for Souls of Faultine. We'll get into that in a second, right? So essentially, that's what I'm getting to, right? So you can see this. Now, your seasonal rewards, so this is cool because this is your weekly reward. Your seasonal rewards will net you even more. So you can see, like at the top rank 1, you're going to get 5,300 warrior mementos. This first place frame, and then you'll get some of the radiant rune chests and the sword of unknowns and rune of unknowns. These are basically items for you to level up your extra swords, which they go into. You're also getting crystals. So like at the top level reward, you're getting 4,000 freaking crystals. Even if you just placed within vibranium, you're still getting 3,600 of these warrior mementos, 200 crystals as a seasonal reward. So it's not necessarily bad for a mode that is essentially just asking you to autoplay, right? Like if it was asking you to do work and put in work, yeah, you're basically looking at like, hey, it's nothing. It is what it is, right? So, all right, so let's go deeper into this new system. Purchase the Battle Pass to acquire rewards for a set period of time. So like right off the bat, you can see inside here that you're basically going to be getting like, you can see the warrior mementos there within first level. I can't believe that they put gold as a reward within the Battle Pass on the 3rd level. Like, is that for real? Like for real? Now, the good thing is that you see here that there's a daily, weekly, and season thing that's inside here. And like, for instance, just completing like this operative where it's like win in other battle with 3 or more surviving characters one time, you're getting other ways to earn these warrior mementos as well. I don't know anybody that should be paying to increase the pass level with crystals, and you can basically see this is the premium pass. Like I said, is already set in price, $19.99, and you can see what the normal pass rewards are. So basically 600,000 gold, 3,360 warrior mementos. Add that on to the values of the stuff that you're getting already, and then you look at the premium pass, so 500 crystals. So essentially the way you have to measure this out is that it's $19.99 to get you 500 crystals, right? So that means now we're at $14.99, or $5 minus a 20, so $15, $14.99. And then you have to wait this across the other rewards. So like your warrior mementos at 2300 for the premium pass, and you get the 33 along with the normal pass rewards. So that's essentially like 5,660 of these warrior mementos in total for your premium pass, along with some of the items that are going to get you accelerated to getting into the top tier leagues, because you're going to be getting that roster bonus overall for your characters. Then you add those onto the rewards that you're getting, so you should really be able to accelerate your tier 4 rewards. That is essentially the PvP mode. Now, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are pissed off about the PvP mode, and there's going to be a lot of people who are happy. Like, I think if you're in that pay to play crowd or that whale crowd, you'll probably be perfectly fine with this. If you're inside that, free to play crowd, I don't think there's any reason for you to be pissed off. You just basically have another method of getting to those rewards. Unfortunately, this still does inherently what players typically tend to complain about, is that the people who are able to pay will accelerate beyond the people who aren't able to play. Now, the one thing where I will say that this doesn't matter for a game like Marvel Future Fight is that the large majority of the game is PvE and is not placed around PvP the way like Marvel Strike Force, for instance, is. So just think about it in that terms. Now, we do have the new X of Swords systems, and it plays out exactly like I said it was going to play out, essentially, right? You essentially will get these swords. Those swords will need to be leveled up. They will then need to be enchanted, and then you're going to apply these crystals to the sword to give you unique bonuses to them. So like, for instance, you can see here, they've got the sword of the unknown, and then they've got crystals that give the sword effect. And you can see it's like decreased basic damage received from enemies with magic abilities, increased basic damage dealt to enemies with flame abilities, basic damage received from Justice Instinct character decreases, destruction increase, poison damage increase. So these are things that you're enchanting onto the blade, right? Once you do that, you will then awaken a sword. So awakening a sword basically takes it to its next form, which will give you even bonus increases to it, right? And that's where we get into the mastery of the sword to give us these overall stat bonuses as well. So you have like elemental mastery. So the highest level is 36, which raises all basic attack by 50%. So getting your sword all the way to level 36 is a good thing, because now I'm basically getting that 50% overall attack bonus that applies to all my characters. This is good. Like, there's no reason to really complain about that at all. We also have the element level based on things, and you can see right here the sword elements for the crystals. We got physical attack, energy damage, energy attack, additional pierce damage decrease, physical damage, and instinct attack increases. And these are basically elements that you add to the sword to just boost it up even more. So you can pick and play with how you choose to play your roster, for instance, right? Like, how many characters are you really leveling up to get that physical attack bonus? Or is there a deficiency in your physical attack, so you go after physical attack inside of your swords while your cards have energy attack? It almost prevents you from having to necessarily say, hey, I'm missing out on some stats from some areas inside my cards, and I can now come over to this system and try to shore them up across the way. Like, for instance, I have a physical attack card on my thing for Black Panther, so I need some energy attack. This might be a good way to get after that, essentially, right? So you can see swords also be dismantled for golds to acquire runes of the unknown. So if you get those, you basically just dismantle these and you basically end up with some gold and some other runes. So I think the system overall doesn't look so bad, because your sword ends up looking like a comic card. You can see that right here, right? Like, basically I have the sword, and then like I've basically got stats that I've self-applied to the sword. I think where this comes into play is that, could you have done this with just the cards? Like, players have wanted non-affixed stats on the cards, and a way to do those themselves, especially with like the let me see if I can pull this up real quick for my cards real quick. But like, if you were to go inside here, you would look at cards, right? And I pulled up this card. We had these fixed options inside here and the random options. Could you have just done this by getting rid of the fixed options and the random options on cards? That's essentially my question, right? I think you could have, but I think it probably would have been required more work, so that way we can do it, or not giving a way to monetize things, because you Bet your bottom dollar ass you're going to see some of these things appearing inside the shop. But you can see, like, for instance, we have the Starlight sword inside of here, and we have a Sword of the Unknown that's being targeted. But you can see that your Sword of the Unknown sitting inside your inventory basically has, like, you know, some stats: cooldown duration, fire resist, instinct, you know, increased basic damage. And so essentially you're getting a new stat production that's giving your characters overall boost in specific areas. I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing overall. It just seems to be like a really convoluted, highfalutin thing. It also lets you change the options on some of your stats as well. I don't see a problem. That is your swords. That is your PvP. Now we get into something I think players will be happy about, and that's the CTP of Insight Reforging, right? So we've got a whole new CTP. I believe this is the last CTP that needs to have the Reforging option. And this CTP looks to be very interesting to me, right? Number one, because you can see over here, Mighty CTP, increased basic damage dealt to boss types by 15%. We also get applies to all allies, decrease additional pierce damage received by 20%. So you almost end up with a PvP and non-PvP option. Essentially what there's like, if I'm going to play PvP and I got this CTP of Insight, this is great for me to have that increased basic damage dealt to boss types, right? Like, no problem there whatsoever. And then over here, we get the brilliant CTP of Insight, increased damage to boss types by 25 and decreased additional pierce by 30%. So my CTPs of Insight, which I have plenty of, are looking to become really, really good to me. Now, not so much my artifacts. So new artifacts that they got in the game, we've got Star-Lord, decreased basic damage for super villains. You can see what these are. I'm not really interested in any of these. They're all self-appearing artifacts, don't have any supports, and really they're more rinse, wash, and repeat type things of increasing basic damage or decreasing basic damage. And in this case, they're going specific to things. So like, they're going along with the extra sword system where it says like super villain, superhero. You can see like Star-Lord is super villain faction, and then damage dealt to alien characters by 25%, right? So it's not something I'm really looking forward to overall for those artifacts, but I'm never really looking forward to it. We do get a new future season pass coming up, and you can see we've got a couple of new icons inside there. Can't really see what the ready for battle one is. I think it's Star-Lord, or is it her? I can't really say. It looks like it's maybe Star-Lord inside there. We get Rocket Raccoon, you see Mantis, and then we get this new icon for Sherrog, right? So that's inside there. Now, surprisingly, the biggest fuck up that I think they did inside of here, excuse my French, but we get the Souls of the 14 can now be acquired in Giant Boss Raid Galactus. It's not another way for you to get Souls of the 14. You're basically now either choosing Galactus or choosing Dormammu to get Souls of the 14. Why you would just leave Master Mode out of the equation, I have no clue. Do it right the first time. You're not doing it right. Do it better. If you play BDO, you know where that is. But you can see here, they basically, the HP defense and reduced debuff duration ability of Giant Boss Raid Master Mode's been adjusted inside there. They have a feature to check the success or failure when you're in Bluetooth keys inside here. The biggest one note, right, is this. Like, it's just this, but it would have been, I think it would have been far better had you said, well, Souls of the 14 can be acquired from Galactus, and just change the value on what they are, so that way I can go in, play Dormammu, get my 2 or 3 runs doing Dormammu for whatever it is, right? Like, usually it takes me 2 runs to complete. Now I can go over to Galactus, instead of being able to get 150, maybe I can get 100 Souls of the 14, and then go into Master Mode, and maybe I can get 50 Souls of the 14 there. And then I basically end up with 300 Souls of the 14 that I get on a, you know, day-to-day basis. But that would have accelerated far too many people, and, you know, yeah, it is what it is. So I guess, you know, yeah, it is what it is. So that's a lot of what they had inside here. Some of the other updates inside there, like you can see here, basically tell you new products that will appear when certain conditions are met and pop-up have been added inside there. I fully expect that we're going to have things that are going to pair up for that we're going to have appear for like these new extra swords and for the new Battlefield game mode. So it is what it is. This is essentially the update that we're looking at rolling out tonight. I believe that this is going to roll until probably like 2, 3 in the morning. I think that's what it said. Let me take a look back up here. Like, these are some long patch notes because they had to describe the system inside here. You can see I'm just rolling through on these things. Like, it took me, what, 40 minutes to basically do this video. So, it doesn't say it inside here. Never mind. So, essentially, that's your update. That's what you're looking forward to. Let me know in the comment section below if you've made it this far. Are you happy, excited, or just indifferent about the update? To be honest with you, I'm like, man, like, you know, excited to see that after 8 years, Marvel Future Fight is still trying to innovate. At the very least, I can't complain about that. So they are trying to innovate in new ways, and I appreciate that. I wish we got more for the costumes and more for the celebration of 8 years. And hopefully that is to come for more items. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Until next time, peace.